Hello, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign, November 2024 can bring some significant changes in your life regarding your relationship to your children, your romantic life, and also some significant focus on your finances. I love as well that you're going to feel a breath of relief as Mars is finally leaving its 2 month stay in the sign of Cancer. So that's going to have a whole different feeling in November. We're going to talk about what you can do with that new energy. I want you to use astrology to time your best life as a navigational tool. So if you're new here, by the way, my name is Lori Lothian. I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac and the whole sign house system. And I love the minor stars, the fixed stars and minor asteroids. I put so much detail into these forecasts during all of my videos each month. Please come aboard, like, subscribe, and give me a try. It's my joy to be here on YouTube with you and to provide this kind of content. The only thing I want to share that I want to offer you is my 2025 All Signs bundle or individual videos that are now on pre-sale through to November 15th, delivered to you November 17th in your inbox. This is downloadable video, audio content, a PDF guidebook, plus also just accessible private videos housed on my back end of my channel. These never go public. These are 2 hour long, up to 2 hour long, big deep dives for how you can handle the year of 2025 based on your sign. And you can listen for sun, career purpose, moon, home, body, safety, and rising sign, everything about you. If you get the bundle, you can also share it with your friends and family. So that's my offer. And if you want to get that now, just check out my description box below. It's my fundraiser. I buy ring lights and microphones. And this year I'll be buying a new laptop. Mine's really old and it's falling apart. I'm recording on that laptop, old MacBook Air. And so I fund the devices and the supplies I need. And you also get a product from me. So it's not a donation, it's a transaction. So let's get rolling and talk about what you are going. And this is never on YouTube. So, you're only going to get it privately. It will go up in price, but still be for sale from November 15th through to forever, but this is the discount early bird price. Now let's go ahead and talk about Cancer, the big stories, right? Okay, so September and October, you've had Mars traveling through the sign of Cancer. The upside, if it's your career, you've been ambitiously pursuing it. If it's your moon, maybe you're really focused on your home, maybe building a home, changing your home. But if it was your rising sign, it's you. You are Mars. Mars is moving through you directly. And you may be very ambitious, very passionate, very focused, but also very gnarly, like throwing gnarly darts at your spouse or being kind of pushy and direct and focused in a tough love way with your children. You may have been also finding yourself more physically active, more vitalized, more energetic, more passionate, more decisive, and more action oriented. You might have burned yourself with hot water. It's Cancer, it's water. Mars is heat and an accident. So be careful. It's still there until November the 4th, and you're still under that influence, but so be cautious with that. But then when Mars with this sharp sword that you've been carrying and his flamethrower leaves, his underwater flamethrower leaves Cancer on November 4th, then you've got 2 months, all of November and December before he backs up into your sign again, a break, a 2 month break. And where does he go? Well, he goes into Leo. And I'm doing an overview, by the way. I'm going to just talk to you with my face, and then I'm going to show you the sky, and we're going to break it down in week by week, day by day. But the overview is to keep you abreast of the big story. So when he moves forward November the 4th, and he'll be in this Leo place of your sky, and he'll be there through till January 4th, it's about your money, it's about your earnings, it's about your resources, and about your possessions. And because he'll retrograde here in December, it's also about revising, rethinking, and changing directions regarding the earnings and the money and the resources strategies. Often when Mars goes into our second house, which is what it is for you, Leo, second house, there's a change of dietary style, and things that you put in your mouth to eat go through the second house throat face part of the sky. And often we change our dietary styles when we have a Mars transit through the second house. And you may be looking at experimenting with food style, dietary style, or any addiction, self-undoing, and bad habits, including like substance addictions. And you may be making changes boldly and declaratively as Mars helps you do that as well. Now, you can also think about Mars going through your second house as the way you're going to resource money being more independent. This is like an entrepreneurial transit. So if any of you have wanted to be a self-starter and do your own thing and launch your own business, certainly Mars direct in your second house through to December 6th is a good auspicious start point for that, especially if your midheaven in floating whole sign house system falls into your Aries 10th house. And by all means, launch a website, start a business, whatever, get your own game on, November 4th through to December 6th before the retrograde. All right, next, what I want to talk to you about in the big picture story is Lord Jupiter has been in your 12th house ever since last year, May, leaves June the 9th, if I remember correctly, or is it July? But anyway, leaves in the summer of 2025. And this is lucky, but it's lucky in a subtle place. And it really opens up doors of opportunity for gurus, spiritual awareness, spiritual awakening, bounty and abundance from far off foreign shores and lands. 12th house matters are things to do with maybe you want to get down with some new learning, educational opportunities as well, including higher education especially. And so as Jupiter is going through your 12th house, he's now retrograde. And that retrograde has started a month ago in the month of October, and it lasts until February. So a lot of this retrogradation is about deepening your bounty, going inwards, really thinking about, or really kind of going into solitude. There's a solitudinous, a solitude, quiet, alone, isolation of the 12th, but for spiritual regeneration, for truth and wisdom and knowledge or learning, that you might retreat a bit from the world through to next February to take advantage of this Jupiter transit. Well, Saturn, very slow moving, has been in your 9th house of God and spiritual truth and ideology and education and far off lands and visas. You've had that, and book publishing, that Saturn transit this last March. Saturn is also been retrograding since June. He will go forward, however, on the 15th of November. And that's a pretty big deal because whatever you've been kind of revising and reconsidering since June is now going to begin to move forward again in November. Some of you might want to get a visa, a passport, plan a trip to a foreign shore, especially with Jupiter in the house of far off foreign lands. Go to the ashram, visit your spiritual teacher, get a book deal published, thingy going, write a book, get a book published, find an agent, find a publisher, apply for a university, go back and continue an education in a higher educational setting. So once we get that direct motion, sorry, I've got a grounding mat under my feet and I'm trying to get it back because it scooted away. Okay, so keep that in mind, Cancer. That's what you've got coming there. Another thing I'd say is grounding mat, because I'm always on my computer making these videos for you guys, and I live in a bit of a high rise. And so the only way I'm getting a lot of earth to feed is my grounding mat. Okay, I should be a sponsor for these guys. I'm not. I should reach out and say, guys, I love this stuff. There we go. Oh, grounding my feet in my grounding mat. Now, to you, I would say this, okay? This energy of the Saturn transit through your 9th house with Jupiter in your 12th can be very spiritual. And if any of you always thought you wanted to go off to a spiritual community, a spiritual retreat, find a spiritual path, join a new religion, or whatever you want, this is your chance. This transit of having the Saturn in the 9th with Jupiter in the 12th amplifies the potential for a very powerful spiritual breakthrough in those areas of your life. Well, what about Venus and what about Mercury? During the month, Mercury is moving into Sagittarius on November the 2nd. He plunks his bum into the sign of Sag for a long time through to January the 8th. November 2nd to January the 8th, you've got this transit of Mercury in your 6th house. Now, Mercury is a communicator, messenger, an ideator, and he's in the house of health, the house of work routines, the house of work itself, colleagues, coworkers, rental properties, and pets. Imagine all of a sudden you got this Mercury guy sitting in there for so long and retrograding on the 26th, going backwards in Sagittarius in your 6th house? Well, first of all, you're going to change your mind. You're going to be renovating, revising, changing things you're doing regarding work, regarding health matters and health protocols. And you might even revise a health test. Like literally you get some blood work, you don't like it, you fix up your diet, and then Mercury goes back and you retest and you're fine. That kind of stuff, because he's like the lab work guy. But also he's to do with pets, and there can be some negotiations and deals. And if you want to buy a new animal, you can do this very successfully when Mercury is in your 6th house. Well, Venus is there as well, because she's going to cover the details he misses and give you bonification and a good pet story. So Venus, Mercury together is a short window of time here. We're going to get to Venus in a minute, but take the 2nd of November to the 22nd of November to the 11th of November. Those 9 days, ideal for applying for a new job. Okay, sweet spot navigational tool from November the 2nd to November the 11th, Remembrance Day. Apply for a job, ask for a raise, get a new pet, purchase it, especially purchasing, but just getting a new pet, signing a new rental contract as a landlord or as a tenant leasee type person. Those are super blessed, super auspicious windows for all of those things to work on your behalf. And to get some kind of consultation regarding health matters with a professional healthcare person would be ideal as well in the 2nd of November to the 11th for best results. Shake and stir. Now, so Mercury in your Sag house through till January, starting in November 2nd, happened to you in November, December of 2017. And it was an elemental fire year for Mercury, where he spent like 2 months in Leo and Aries, and then at the end of the year, Sag. You might want to go back and think about what things changed in your life that year, especially around career matters, resources and earnings, and work situations, or health and dietary changes as well, back in the whole year of 2017, like the April, May, and the July, August, and into September, and then the November, December. These are repeat performances of the sky redoing itself with Mercury's elemental fire retrograde. So keep that in mind. You might be able to see what you did then and how it compares to what you may do now. All right. So one thing I'd say for you guys, because it is a Mercury transit through the 6th house and it does flow to your 10th house, as a general principle, the North Node is up there to expand your career, Chiron towards truer purpose. And once we get Mars in the 2nd house, there's a lot of this energy for Mercury that he wants to amplify you to get more money, to get more happiness, joy, and satisfaction and success in career, and to amplify your career success. So this is one thing he's definitely going to work on for you while he moves through that 6th house, not just in the month of November, but all the way through the month of December. All right, keep it in mind. Now we're going to talk about Venus, the lesser benefic, who brings great blessings to our lives. She is moving this time around through the sign of Sag when we begin the month, because on October the 17th, she moved into Sagittarius, and she doesn't exit till November the 11th. While she is in this 6th house, it's really good for your health protocols and your work routines and your enjoyment of colleagues and coworkers. It's good for abilities to pay down credit cards and pay off debts, including mortgages. It's really good for, I guess I said, positive developments with your pets in their life, the ones you have, or the acquisition of a new pet. Then she's moving out of there and moving into Capricorn on the 11th, and she'll be there until December the 8th. Capricorn is your 7th house. It is where you have those significant relationships, including marriage. Wow. You might find yourself coming into a very powerful window with your marriage partner if you have one. And if you don't, meeting a new person that's going to transform your life, because Venus enters into Capricorn in the house of significant others on the 11th, with Pluto still there till the 20th. Between the 11th and the 20th, if you meet someone new under that influence, profound, transformative relationship dynamics. If you're in a marriage already, or long-term committed love, monogamous, committed, living together, doesn't matter. Holy man, earth-shaking shifts in that relationship. It is a wealth yoga, loosey-goosey, but the planets are in the same sign, and you may get some kind of client, audience, marketplace person who's very wealthy or powerful suddenly coming into your life, likely a female, offering some great benefits to you. Again, the window would be November the 11th through to the 20th, when Pluto is direct and still in your 7th house, and Venus is there as well. So, yay, let's see what happens. If you get a legal contract presented to you, it's got the same power, intensity, and boss babe vibe. So good things are happening in that 7th house for you. And when she's coming into that 7th house, she flows to the 9th house of book publishing and book publishing deals. So book publishing deals and contracts work really well for Cancer author writer types during her stay. And again, the sweet spot, I'm going to say it one more time, November 11th to the 20th of November. Use it or lose it. Navigational timing. Let's go ahead and break down the sky into the itty bitty bits. And those are going to be about how, holy man, watch how we start out in November. How you can use the sky. Get a pen, get a paper, Cancers, get ready. Let's see what I can offer you. First of all, on November the 1st to the 3rd, we're going to see the energy in the sky. I cannot rotate the dial. Otherwise, I lose it with ascensional times. But halfway through the month, it's going to be a nightmare. Just trust me. You get the gist of where most planets are, right? You get the idea here. On November the 1st to the 3rd, the beginning of this month, I've got it set for November 2nd. You're going to see that we have a Mars opposition to Pluto that is a last in a lifetime through the 1st house of you and the 7th house of marriage. If you're in a marriage that's at all been intensely unstable, this could be a real rupture or explosive moment. This is definitely intense energy in the marriage house, vis-a-vis you with the flame-throwing water sword in your hand. Big seagull just flew right over us. So you look for seagull medicine when it comes to your career, or to your marriage house. All right, just right up to my window. Oh my God, there he goes again. That's unusual here. I never have seagulls this close, but it's a torrential downpour today in Vancouver, Canada. Now, the other element of this would be a profound conflict or explosive situation with a business partner or some client or customer or audience member, where things just really kind of ratchet up and the stakes go really intense. When this is over, which is only 3 days of this axis, because on November 4th, Mars moves into the sign of Leo, you might let the dust settle and take a few deep breaths, because the good news is that there's a beautiful kite with an earth trine, a water trine involved. Here's the water trine and here's the kite. All right. And so ultimately, what's trying to happen is an explosive moment that gets reconciled through the houses 9, right? 9, Neptune 9, Neptune retrograde 9. At the time, Mercury will be here in Scorpio and in water. And you'll also have Mars also at the tail end of water in your 1st house. So the water trine is very much about dharma, about finding one's true path, one's purpose, one's meaning. Houses 1, 5, 9 are the houses of your personal life significance. Why are you here? So everything that shakes out of some other person conflict aligns you in a flowing, lucky, easy way with your truest purpose. And it activates the houses of creativity and children and romance and entrepreneurship. 5 and 9, travel, visas, passports, foreign shores, book publishing, academia, and court matters. And you carrying the Martian's water gun, the water gun in your hand. I should have used a water gun as an example on my channel for what you guys got in your hand. It's a water gun. All right. Or it's a fire hose. All right. So keep it in mind, like what carries the water out of it. Ooh, are you putting out fires or are you pushing people around? Let me know. So the next thing about the beginning of the month is a new moon. It's at 9 degrees of Scorpio, and that's going to be right here. Yes, where Mercury will be as well. So it's a Mercury attended new moon that's going to bring in new things in the house of children. Now, this can be new communications with your children, new conditions and circumstances for your children. This could be new connections to your creative and entrepreneurial projects and new ideas that you're going to hatch here that can last up to 6 months after a new moon. But in the 2 weeks that follow the new moon, some major changes may occur with your children, especially with Pluto moving into the 8th house, squaring the house of children. And so some changes with the situations with your children can be very important, especially if your children are still living with you. For example, that could be a circumstance of change. And there's a sense then, the new moon is inciting a new beginning for your relationship to your children or with your children in general in their own lives. And that begins to emerge as a fresh start energy. Yes, on the 1st of November, but it can unfold over not just 2 weeks, but 6 months afterwards. On November 3rd and the 4th, we have Venus arguing politely with Jupiter. She's sitting across the way in Sagittarius, and she's having a fiery spirit as she looks at Jupiter, who's under difficult circumstances in his detriment or exile in Gemini. He's not doing very great. He's not that strong. I think Venus can push him around. But what is trying to be pushed around? Is it time to let go of a self-sabotaging addiction, bad habit, or pattern? Is there somebody or some situation where a pet is in a hospital, or you're dealing with something to do with work, and contrast, someone's in a hospital because Jupiter's in the house of hospitals, and there's just a push-pull tug of war, but it flows to a chironic wound. It flows to a chironic wound in your career and reputation space. I think you're going to get rid of some kind of job, work, situation that is also connected to your own inability to your own self-sabotaging habits and patterns. And you're going to break free of something here, but it comes to a bit of a stress moment. You want to go off on a foreign land retreat, but your boss says no, and you break away from your job. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to do some kind of deep spiritual healing that elevates your career path through some kind of, karmic clearing or something like that, clear the karmic chains or something around November 3rd and 4th. Venus rules your childhood, and everything to do with your childhood, and anything that could be holding you back is coming out of your childhood wounds that you have yet to resolve, particularly wounds around the mother, the 4th house storylines. And maybe some kind of push, shove, and pull around the idea that you may want to let go of a property or sell a property or rent a property or lease a property. And there's this tug of war energy going on really around the 3rd and 4th. Well, this tug of war is happening also. There's something good trying to happen. And that is the sun in a water trine, a flow to Saturn. The sun is in your 5th house, and he hooks up with Saturn in your 11th. And, that's not bad. This is like, okay, Saturn is in a position of, authority at the top of the sky, still retrograde, but still up there. A creative project comes back for a revision in a positive way through a publishing house. A child is going to move to a foreign, far off land, and you're just getting noticed, but it feels good. A grandchild could be coming off of a new moon, and you find out you're going to be a grandparent. I mean, all these kinds of possibilities are November 3rd and 4th, but they're positive. On November the 9th, there's a Venus square Neptune difficulty. Venus is sitting in the square, of course, still in Sag, and Neptune is here right in this part of your 9th house. He is retrograde. He's less deluded, more clear-eyed, but he's still Neptune. So whereas there has been some fog of confusion regarding grandchildren, regarding spiritual philosophy, foreign lands, visas, academic environments, where you've been sort of fogged out a bit, and now you're trying to get clear, and Venus is trying to help, but she's a little push and shovey, with it. Do you need to go rent a place in a foreign land and get some downtime in an ashram? Do you need to change your job in alignment with a more spiritual direction? Do you need to find an educational path that'll re-educate you for a new direction in work? And now you're facing squarely the possibilities in front of you and the choices you must make. Because whatever's going on November 3rd and 4th is happening again later, particularly November sort of like 17th, 18th, when we get Mercury doing the same darn thing. Mercury also opposite Jupiter in the same place in the sky. So you can connect November 3rd, 4th, if you like, to probably what's still going on in a more intense way with emails, phone calls, and text messages or conversations or whatever, or applications on November 18th, 19th, like applying for a university thing, of getting your visa ready to travel to foreign countries. That's November 18th, 19th. Having job stories connected to meaning or to education or to human resources getting in touch with you, or to work in job situations in spiritual community settings. These kinds of things are happening around the 18th and 19th. But it's also just what was going on November 3rd and 4th. But instead of with Venus, it's happening with Mercury. But it's the same vibe, same story. So they're probably connected, is what I'm saying. Now, on November the 12th, Mercury squares are hard, okay? On November the 12th, Mercury squares Saturn. Saturn is busy up here getting ready to go direct. Not quite here yet, but on the 15th, he wants to move forward in ninth house matters. I described that earlier in the video. He's still not quite ready. And then he gets a bossy note from the workhouse, from the house of debts, the house of pets, the house of health matters, a bossy note from Mercury. It could be a kind of a blockage or a challenge point regarding work versus travel, or health versus faith, academics versus jobs. These kinds of ninth house, sixth house energies are squaring off. But no, 6 and 9 are metacosmos, between the world's spiritual houses. And, Mercury and Venus, by the way, in the sixth house can bring some spiritual release from some of the karmic debt you owe, and real life debt, by the way, pay off a mortgage or a credit card. And I wonder here, with this Venus, the goddess of money, in the house of debt squaring Saturn, in a court or legal setting, you have to jump a legal hurdle or a passport hurdle or a visa hurdle or some kind of administrative bureaucratic hurdle in order for you to move forward in work, health, pets, and debts. Okay. You want that Chihuahua, but they're not letting it cross the border from Mexico, that kind of thing. November the 15th, we have a full moon. It is at 24 Taurus on the Algol and Uranus position. It's a big deal. This Algol Uranus area, Taurus 25 in your 11th house, was activated July 15th by Mars Uranus conjunction. It's still here, but now Uranus is retrograde. Holy man, it's like, what is trying to jolt and change? It could even be bringing wealth to you from the house of friends, allies, benefactors, the sibling one older than you. And there's a kind of shock and awe, a surprise. It could involve wealth, could involve these people, friends, allies, benefactors, and elder sibling losing their head, but it flows to you in a sextile, so it benefits you, whatever's going on there. But the full moon isn't just a day in the life of you, even though it's a full moon on the 15th for fulfillment and completion and harvest. It is also going to take up to 6 months to fully fulfill itself, but you could have a completion or an ending or a harvesting of a friendship, of a relationship, in a colleague, coworker space, or a completion, fulfillment, and reaping, harvesting around something to do with your work gains, in particular, how you gain the money from your career, the mechanism by which you produce those financial and reputation gains. And that part of the sky is having a bit of a shocking full moon. It could play out. It could play out right away. You see what it's about right away, like, sometime around the moon or in the days after, but it can also kind of trickle out over months, not just days. And again, that's the 15th of November. One thing I don't mind about this full moon, sometimes you like things, sometimes you don't, is it does flow. It does have a positive relationship to Neptune. And so there's kind of a sweetness coming from the house of deep meaning of life, true north, being in alignment with purpose, but also foreign lands and travels, also higher educational stories, and a positive surprise. The 11th house is good spirit. It's a lucky house, good house, a positive house. I'm not too worried about this. I don't think you should hunker down. I think you should be more anticipatory and maybe a bit exhilarated by it. When we move to the 16th to the 19th, just after the moon, you're going to notice that that Mercury is having that argument again, just like the one with Venus on the 3rd and 4th. So I talked about it. I'm not going to recover it again, but pay attention to what is reemerging for some friction between Jupiter and your 12th house. It could be a spiritual problem. It could be like you're going to have a crisis of faith or something, and squaring Saturn, you're going to come to Jesus moment, come to terms with your deep spiritual philosophies. Now, on November 21st to the 22nd, it's a positive sky. 2 positive things happen all at once. The sun flows to Pluto and Venus flows to Saturn. Sun will be flowing in the sign of Sagittarius at this point. And it will be in Sag, by the way, through to the third week of December. And that's positive, and you don't mind that because that's a solar light in the house of health and pets, the sixth house of debts and work, and you're shining brightly there, and things are happening, and you're on it, and this is where you get vitality. But on the other hand, the sextile to Pluto is something new. You're going to be experiencing a sun in Sag, sextile Pluto, and Capricorn. You're going to have that experience for the next 20 years, every single year, every single fall. And this is going to feel really cool for you. Like, what is this new energy I have? What am I going to do with it? Certainly, it's really good for beginning a life in which you are more wealthy and less debt prone. Second of all, it could indicate a time in which your karmic debts are completely beginning to be paid down and paid off, because we have the most karmatic eighth house, right? And we have the debt servicing plan in the sixth house where the sun is. And so there's something about servicing the karmic debt is really profoundly paying off. And, there's a thing in the sky with Mercury and Sag. You see, your rewards from your karma come from the third. It's eighth from the eighth. And that means that Mercury in the sixth house is really going to say, maybe this is a time for your karmic rewards to begin to manifest as a debt-free life, as a more wealthy life. Now, I don't know where that wealth comes from. Pluto will be moving into an inheritance house, and in the next 20 years, money from shared assets and divorce, separation, or widowhood, or money from family of origin, passing aways in your family of origin, mom, dad, and up their lines, and people and the relatives of the family of origin. They definitely could get some inheritances with Pluto in your eighth house over the course of the next 20 years. But you're going to like the feeling of Sag sun, and it could be a really nice, robust peaking or perking up of a feeling of karmic freedom, of debt relief, of more resources, et cetera, more financial abundance becoming available, and are obviously becoming available to you November 21st to the 22nd. Venus at the same time is going to sextile Saturn. Now, Saturn is now direct, right, as of the 15th in your ninth house. Venus is in Boss Babe Capricorn and flowing to the ninth house. If you were a single person, you could meet somebody in a foreign land, foreign place, foreign tour, educational setting. That would be okay. That would work well. So good for dating. November 21, 22. In November 21, 22, Venus can also be saying something like striking a legal contract for a book publishing deal or podcasting deal, striking a contractual agreement for a higher educational teaching or learning opportunity, visa, passport settlements, and everything finally works out. Right, that kind of stuff. When we move to November 26th and 7th, the sun trines Mars. Mars is still, of course, moving through Leo, where he'll be until January. And the sun is going to fire trine from your sixth house of work and health and pets and debt relief. And you're going to love that because Mars is in your money and resources house, kicking up a storm, very entrepreneurial, very self-starter, but very good, by the way, at eliminating wastage, sometimes spending, but he's usually investing spending when he's here. And so whatever Mars is doing, he's making some changes in your earnings and possessions and resources. And he's talking to Chiron North Node to expand your career. And suddenly the sun gets in on the game and Mercury's still there. Mercury's still in your sixth house on November 26th and 27th. Although he will be turning retrograde on the 26th. So it's kind of an intense time with an almost stationary Mercury, sun in your sixth house with Mercury, major turning point changes in dietary style with regards to health, that you go back to something from the past, or some career and work opportunities from the past are emerging, or the ability to have pay off debt. I'm going to note that with Pluto moving into Aquarius, and that's the 19th, and then the South Node's still in your fourth house through to next January. There's this kind of like November, December, where some of you might want to sell a home or buy a home, but mostly sell with the South Node. Change your home, release a property, sell a property, or move your home, change your home. And Pluto will bring financial recompense from the change. So that's an option for some of you to consider. We end the month on a new moon on November 30th, 9 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, 9 degrees of Sagittarius is sitting in your sixth house. Such a busy work, health, pets, rentals, tenancies area, new beginnings in a rental property, new beginnings in a debt relief program, new beginnings with a new pet. Now, New moons are new beginnings, but and death is an ending and a beginning. And I'm not trying to scare you. I don't want to do that. But with a south node in the fourth house, with Mercury retrograding in your sixth house and a new moon in Sag in the house of pets and Pluto in the house of death, is creating this little mini trine. And it's possible that some of you may have a pet pass during that window of time. When do I mean? Well, November the 30th, November the 30th. And it could be in the 2 weeks that follow. It would be more of it could unfold over 6 months, but more likely to see it in the 2 weeks that follow. You definitely, I'd say between November, you got to be kidding me, helicopter. No, it's not military. Between November, a pet could pass between November the 30th and January the 11th, if you have an elder pet in particular. All right, because of the Saturn position here. Not worrying you, but getting you ready for life's inevitabilities. Remember, time your best life, navigational tool, be aware, be prepared. Don't be worried. If you got like a little puppy or something, no, not necessarily. But I'm just telling you, if you're even wondering how long your 1,000-year-old animal is going to continue to live, this could be an ending point there as well. All right. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you in my YouTube land. My Patreon community gets this today, early access ad free on October the 8th. Wow, it's really cool when you get rid of all your wrinkles. And you might want to check out everything below, like readings, wait list, everything I'm doing, free giveaways. It's all under the more button, guys. Click the more button. You'll see what I'm talking about. All right. Thanks a lot. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.